So to begin, I'll place the fabric on fold, and I'll use the widest measurement, which is the chest measurement. I have a chest measurement of 25 inches. I'll divide that by 4, and that will give me 6.25. Then I'll add 1.5 inch allowance, and that will give me 7.75 inches, and I'll mark it here. And I'll take the length, which is 23 inches. I'll mark it. I'll mark 23 inches here also. Now I'm going to mark my 7.75 inches here at the 23 inch length mark. And I'll mark my 7.75 here again. Now I'm going to connect into a straight line. Now I'm just going to cut it out now. And this will be the front block. And I'll just cut out this part because I don't need it. So I'm going to use this to cut the back pattern. Once more, placing my fabric on fold. And now I'm going to place the front pattern on it. Remember that the length for the front is 23 inches long, and to that I'm just going to add 4 inches to that length, and that will give me 23 plus 4 will give me 27 inches, and that's exactly what I have there. I'll just trim out this excess here. Cut it out. And just like I did with the front, I'm going to trim out this excess. I don't need it. Now make sure that the two of them are well aligned. And now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go down by 1.5 inch. I'll mark 1.5 inch here. And then I'll connect to the other side like this. This is for the shoulder slant. And now I'm going to cut it off. Now I'm going to move the front panel downwards to match the back panel at the bottom. After that, I'm going to fold the top like so and let it overlap the front panel by 1/2 inch. That will serve as sewing allowance. Now I'm going to insert a neck width of 2 inches. And a neck depth of 2.5 inches. I also measure 2.5 inches here, and then again 2 inches here. I'll just use my ruler to draw a line to connect them at those points. Now I'm going to draw a line to curve the neck like so. My neck circumference is 11 inches divided by 2. That will give me 5.5. So I'm just going to use my tape to measure around the neck to make sure I get 5.5 inches. So as you can see, I have 5.5 inches. Now I'm going to raise the back panel like so and cut the neck. Next, I'll be taking my shoulder measurement. My shoulder width is 6 inches, and I'll be adding 1/2 inch allowance, and then that will give me 6.5, and I'll mark it here. And I'll insert the armhole measurement. I have 6 inches also. And then I'll mark mark 6.5 inches here. And connect. For the armhole, I'll measure it like so and divide whatever I get into 2. That will give me the midpoint there, and I'll mark it and go inwards by half an inch and connect it like so. Now I'll cut it off. And then I'll just trim this little part off the neck. So as you can see, I ironed it already, and I'll just set this aside. So for the sleeve, I'll divide the chest measurement by 12. That's 25 inches divided by 12. And that will give me 2.08, and I'll add half an inch to that, and that will give me 2.58. I'll approximate that to 2.6 inches and mark it on both sides. And now I'm going to connect into a straight line. And I'll be using a sleeve length of 5 inches plus 2 inches for my hem allowance. That will give me 7 inches. I'll mark it here on this side and on the other side. And then draw a line. I'm going to use my armhole measurement, which is 6 inches. I'll add 1.5 inches to that. That will give me 7.5, and I'll mark it there and connect like so. Then now I'm going to get the midpoint of that line. I'll just use my tape to measure it. I have 8 inches there. Half of 8 inches is 4 inches, so I'll mark it there. And then I'll go up by half an inch and mark it, and then I'll connect like so. Now I'm going to mark out my sleeve circumference. I have 4 inches, and I'll add 1.5 inches allowance for the hem, and that will give me 5 inches. I'll mark it and then draw a line like so. Remember, my sleeve length is 5 inches, so I'll mark 5 inches on both sides. And draw a line to connect the points. Now I'm going to cut this off. Now I'll fold the hem allowance in and continue cutting. I'll give it a notch here, and and I'll use this to cut the second sleeve. So here's my second sleeve. Next thing, I'm going to cut the facing for the back and front. I just opened up the back panel like so, and I'll place it on my fabric on fold. All I need to do is to trace it out. And I'll trace the armhole area. I'll be measuring it up to 4.5 inches here, and I'll stop there. It's supposed to be 4 inches, but I added half an inch for folding it in. So I'm just going to draw a straight line, and then I'll cut it out. And this is what I have. I'll open this up and place it on it. So I'll just use the same process to cut the facing for the front panel. Just follow the same process, trace it out. Now I'm going to cut the placket. I'm going to be using a length of 9 inches. And the width of 4 inches. Now I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to cut it out. Next, I'll iron my interfacing on it. And cut off the extra on the sides. Now I'll fold it in by 1 inch and iron it. I'll fold it once more, and this time I have 1.5 inches, so I'm going to iron it in place, and then I'll open it up and fold the end there by 1/2 inch and iron it in place also. And I'll fold it back. Now I'll trim off a little on the other side, because I'm going to be forming a kind of a triangle at the bottom, so I want to reduce the bulk. Now I'm going to make a triangle, and then iron it in place. Is it a triangle or an arrow? Kind of like an arrow shape. Arrow, okay. So this is what I have. I have these 2 plackets. This one is 6 inches long by 2 inches. And as you can see, I already ironed my interfacing on it. Then I folded by 1/2 inch on both sides and ironed it. And I opened it up again and folded the top by 1/2 inch and ironed it in place and folded it again like so. So I have my plackets, I have my sleeves, and then facing for the back and front. If you want to see how I join or sew this, just watch my next video.